Greetings, this is TimeRider at Chapter 4. At the request of many of my subscribers, I'm recording this video of the customization of a Hot Wheels 1963 split window Corvette Stingray Coupe. I have to give a shout out here to another YouTuber, Dutch Says It All, as it was his restoration of a Corgi version of this car that set me on the path to my own 63 Vette project. I purchased this casting on eBay for $6.24. It's what they refer to as a real wheels version. In my research, I found this refers to the soft rubber tires on the model. It is the first Hot Wheels that I have ever worked on. The 1963 Corvette received a major restyling, new mechanics, and it was the first year that GM adopted the Stingray moniker. It was the only year the C2 Vette was offered as a split window, and there were only about 10,500 of them built. New, the base Corvette costs about $4,300. Back in the olden days when I was a young pup, I worked at a pizza place in St. Louis Park, Minnesota with a fellow named Randy who owned a yellow Corvette. I always liked that car, so I decided to recreate it here. Let's get started. I also need to give a shout out to Johnny Benz Photography. You can find him at www.johnnybenz.com. If you want a great picture taken of your car, give him a call. When I took the casting apart, one of the things I noticed is how much heavier it was than most of the Matchbox castings that I've dealt with. I think that it was just done thicker. I don't know if that's better or worse. I have my suspicions that it's probably cheaper to make them thicker because you have less partial fills and the defect rate probably goes down quite a bit. And I don't think that the casting was quite as detailed as Matchbox casting. All the edges seemed a little rounder, and the details in the body were not as crisp and as sharp. The paint looked like it might be difficult to remove, so I decided to use aircraft paint stripper on it as opposed to the citrus stripper. I turn it around a couple of times, try to make sure that I get the stripper on every surface of the car. The paint actually looked thicker than what you might normally see on a Matchbox as well. And after a few minutes in the stripper, it was time for a bath, and the paint actually came off really well. I don't know if it's because it was thicker or just cheaper paint or what, but it literally came off in like big sheets. Everything except the taillights. The paint in the taillights was stubborn. But other than that, it stripped out really nice. The casting itself wasn't too bad. Like I said, it was quite a bit heavier than a typical Matchbox, and the details were like rounder. I don't know how else to describe it. They just weren't as defined as you might normally find on a Matchbox. For primer, I was using Tamiya light gray. As you can probably tell, I did this before I moved. This is at my old place. It's one of the last models I worked on before I moved. For paint, I decided to just use Tamiya X8 Yellow. I thought it looked like it would be a pretty good match for the yellow I was going for. The little grates or grills or whatever they are on the hood of the Corvette are not the same color as the Corvette. Even though they were on the original model, they were just painted white. I wanted to paint them silver, which is what color they were on the original car. So I wanted to be accurate, so I used some Tamiya masking tape, and I taped off the two rectangular areas and went after it with one of my brushes. And so here's kind of where I ran into problems. When I took the tape off, some silver had got onto two spots on the hood. You can't see it very well here, but it was just a fine hair or two. And I was actually out of the Tamiya yellow, and I thought that I could fix it with Tester's yellow, which was probably my first mistake. And so using a toothpick, I tried to fix the two areas where there was silver paint on the hood. There were three places that were compromised by my use of the Tester's paint, and they actually weren't incredibly visible, but I knew they were there. So I decided I would just set the model aside and get back to it because, well, I had to move. So when I shot this the other morning to make my little video, I really didn't expect everybody to, I shouldn't say everybody, I didn't expect as many responses expressing an interest in seeing the entire video. And I figured that at this distance on the rotating table, nobody would be able to see the problems with the paint anyway. And it was just a joke. But then when people started asking me to show them the complete video, I figured I better go ahead and strip the paint off and start over. Even though you can't see it, I knew it was there, and that was enough. So I started over. So here we go, back to square one. Take the model apart. See, this was so temporary I didn't even have a second screw in it. Grab the interior out of it and pop the windshield. I will say this, even though it's been probably a few weeks since I painted this, paint this fresh, man, that stripper just eats right through it. In a matter of no time at all, you can just rub it right off with a brush. Can already see how it's starting to turn the cardboard yellow. You'll see here, once I get it in the water, man, it just rubs that paint right off. There's like nothing to it. And I will say this, just because doing it the second time was easier in some respects, that doesn't mean for a minute that I wanted to do it again. I will say this about do-overs, though. I used to just keep Tamiya gray primer, but I liked the gray so much that when I ordered more primer because I was running out of gray, I ordered the white as well. And I want to do this one in white because it's such a bright color, and primer does. It makes a huge difference in how a car looks, how a model looks when you're done with it. So I decided to do this one with Tamiya white. In addition to changing the color of the primer, the first time I did this model, I just used the yellow straight up. But I thought that the car had a little bit more of a golden hue to it, so I thought I would add a little bit of brown, just one drop to that much yellow, and you would not believe how much different the paint is, even just adding one drop of brown. I wound up doing 2 coats of yellow. The first coat was really more of a tack coat than anything. But once I started putting on the second coat, I think that was really where the model started to shine. Sorry, I got a little out of focus there. The original Hot Wheels was chrome below the bumpers, but if you look at a Corvette, it's not. The area below the bumpers is the same color as a car. And I had actually painted this on the first version, but since I changed the color of the paint and I wanted them to match, I had to go through and repaint those areas. So this is the area where I kind of screwed things up the first time, and I wanted to get it right. What you see me doing there is there's a wild hair on my paintbrush, but I decided to just trust my hand here, and I went through and painted these little grills or whatever they are by hand. Fortunately for me, this time around, I think I got it right. I always work better from the top down, so that's why I turned the model around. They say that the devil is in the details. So here I am painting the medallion on the back of the Corvette. I'm using my detail brush for this. The original model had red tail lights, so I decided to duplicate that. I wound up getting a little bit of red onto the yellow, and I tried to wipe it off. That didn't work very well, So what I wound up doing is grabbing some paint that I had left and just touching up that little spot. And then I wanted to create the medallion on the back. There's crossed flags, a red one on the left and a checkered flag on the right. Now clearly I can't draw the flags to that accuracy, but I think a dot will do. And I needed to do a little bit of touch up on the mags with the chrome pen, and wanted to chrome the two side pipes. I was going to clip it into my helping hands, but I wasn't sure where to grab it because I also wanted to hit the bumpers. I had already chromed them once, but I just wanted to freshen them up a little bit. Then it was time for some clear coat. I think I wound up putting 3 coats on. And then the final reveal. There you have it. The Hot Wheels 63 Corvette split window. Yeah, I see the little chrome paint on the tire. Don't blow up my feed. I fixed it. This is TimeRider at Chapter 4. I'll leave the light on for you. Thanks for watching.